Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the June meeting of the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, sometimes known as the MTA Bridges and Tunnels Committee, and even occasionally sometimes referred to as that committee with the RFK Bridge, but not too many people do that. Do we have any public speakers? The last time I heard there were none. Is there any amendments to the work plan?
No amendments to the work plan.
Does anybody have any corrections to the exciting minutes of the May meeting of our committee?
No questions.
I will entertain them. You have one? Any second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are adopted. Mr. No longer acting president.
Okay, I'd like to inform the committee and update them on the VN03 and TN projects. I'm pleased to report that the eastbound toll booths on the Verrazano Bridge, the 8 booths in the first phase, have all been removed. Additionally, I'd like to inform the committee that the TN50 project, the southbound Cross Island Parkway ramp rehabilitation, will be completed before the 4th of July weekend.
You don't have much time there. You better be telling the truth.
I'm happy to say it will be open before the 4th of July. I'm confident of that.
Okay. You're on the line.
David?
Thank you, Jim. On page 13 begins the report on operations. In April, there were 24.6 million crossings, which was almost identical to what we had in April of 2009. Looking at factors that affect travel, first on the unfavorable side, gas prices averaged $2.91 per gallon this year, which was about 78 cents more per gallon than a year ago. On the positive side, weather was much better this year than last year. We had 6 days of precipitation versus 11 in 2009. Also, city public schools, their spring recess began at the end of March this year, which meant that there were 2 more days of school, which meant more travel this April than last April. If we look at customer trends, we see that their cash-paying customers continue to decline. In April, they were down almost 9% versus April of 2009, which is part of a long-term trend that we've seen since EasyPass came in 15 years ago. EasyPass continues to grow. It was up 3.3% versus a year ago. And trucks were up slightly, 0.5% versus April of 2009. If we're looking at crossings, the major Bronx crossings were down 1%. The VN was down 0.5%. Manhattan crossings, the majors were up by 1%. And the Henry Hudson and the Rockaways were up by 2.3 and 2.4% respectively. Finally, a preliminary look at May statistics indicates about a 1% increase in traffic versus May of 2010. We'll get into more details next month when we have a chance to sort of examine some of the details of the different types of traffic.
So it looks like that long-time 16-month or so decline in traffic appears to be reversing.
That's correct. That's correct. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I can't remember whether we want more customers or less customers. Which one is it?
We're looking for more, Mr. Chairman.
Next.
The EasyPass report, I will start with the EasyPass report, begins on page 25. Our market share in April was close to 76%, up more than 2 percentage points from a year ago, continuing the trend we've been seeing for close to a year now. More than 11,600 EasyPass accounts were opened in April. That includes more than 2,200 EasyPass on the go tags, with approximately 19% of the total accounts opened for the month. That concludes the EasyPass report. I'll move on to the financial report if there are no questions.
You know, when you say that Massachusetts has 0.48%, does that mean that they just have so few people using it, or do most people there not use EasyPass at all, or do they subscribe in a different way?
That's Massachusetts customers on our facilities, I believe. That's what that number means.
Oh, I see.
That's right. Okay. I'll move on to the financial report, which begins on page 31. Toll revenue for the first 4 months of the year is almost flat, down about 0.2%. It's a reflection of the lower traffic we saw in February. February, if you remember, our revenue was down about 8% due to the storms, but it's been up every month since then, and we basically caught up in April. In April itself, revenue was up about 1.5% against the budget due to the higher traffic that Dave mentioned. Total expenses year-to-date through April are down 2.8%. That's primarily due to lower labor expenses, and overtime in particular is down almost 13% year-to-date, and in April alone it was down 25%, so that's good news on overtime. Non-labor expenses are up slightly for the year-to-date about $600,000 because of some higher-than-planned major maintenance expenses we had earlier in the year, but in April itself they were down significantly. Non-labor expenses about $4.9 million. And our support to mass transit is another good news story. It's approximately $248.8 million through April, almost $17.5 million better than planned. That concludes the financial report. If you have any questions.
I would just say that I've been coming to this committee for a number of years, and it's good to see the Easy Pass share at the Bronx-Whitestone Bridge and the Bronx piece of the RFK Bridge steadily going up, because those two were amongst the lowest anywhere in the system. So obviously the differential in price has become such that everybody realizes it's a good deal to do this now.
Thanks.
We congratulate you, too, on controlling the overtime. I know it's not easy and requires a great deal of finesse, deftness, preparation, consideration, and negotiation.
So two gentlemen to your left have been controlling the overtime.
Yeah, but we're giving you the credit for it because you announced it.
Okay.
Be careful when it goes above.
Right.
Okay, moving on to the capital report. Our commitments for the 05 to 09 program are tracking well. We've awarded $23.4 million to date versus a plan of $21.7 million. Similarly, completions are tracking well. We've completed $68.6 million versus a plan of $70.9 million. We declared substantial completion in May for our major rehab project at the Cross Bay Bridge, Project CB08. We'd opened up our roadways before Memorial Day as planned and as promised to the local community. I'm also glad to report that the project was a budgetary success. We finished under budget. Looking at closeouts, we closed out work valued at $71 million in May, which brings our year-to-date total to $142.3 million. And that concludes my report. Thank you. No, it is not finished yet, but it will be very soon.
Feel free to rebuild those toll plazas and fill in those potholes. You know, we want our customers to have perfect rides. Think big.
Okay, good afternoon. There are 4 procurements this month totaling about $1.384 million. There are no non-competitive procurements, but there are 4 competitive procurements. The first is a request that the board declare competitive bidding to be impractical and or inappropriate and authorize Bridges and Tunnels, New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, Metro North Railroad, MTA, and MTA Capital Construction to enter into a competitive RFP process for a joint solicitation to obtain miscellaneous construction services on an as-needed basis at various authority facilities. The budget for these as yet undefined projects is $36 million for B&T, $50 million for NYCT, $10 million for Long Island Railroad, $5 million for Metro North Railroad, $2 million for the MTA, and $30 million for MTACC. The duration of these contracts is 3 years. Next is a miscellaneous procurement contract with the Blue Water Group to upgrade Bridges and Tunnels RSA and Vision security hardware and provide 12 months of maintenance support in accordance with New York State Office of General Services contract PT 60953 in the amount of $37,084. The period of performance is 1 year. The third item is for an award of 3 personal service contracts to Integrated Strategic Resources, LLC, NASCO Construction Services, Inc., and VJ Associates to provide miscellaneous consultant estimating services on an as-needed basis. The aggregate not-to-exceed amount for the 3 contracts is $750,000, and each contract is for a 5-year duration. The last item is a modification to a miscellaneous service contract with SEB Services of New York, Inc. for a 6-month contract extension to provide uniformed armed guard services at various bridges and tunnel sites. This request is so that we can revise the scope of work prior to the solicitation of a new contract. The value of this extension is $597,164, and there are no ratifications. I would like to report one information item. Bridges and Tunnels is included in a request by New York City Transit to the Board to ratify the declarations of immediate operating needs and the waiver of formal competitive bidding pursuant to the All-Agency Procurement Guidelines and Public Authorities Law for the purchase of various H1N1 pandemic preparedness supplies for NYCT, MTA Bus, Long Island Railroad, Long Island Bus, and Bridges and Tunnels. We awarded a purchase order in September 2009 for disinfectant surface wipes to Redicare Company in the amount of $31,311 based on this declaration. And that concludes my report.
All right, we'll consider all the procurements as one item. Anyone have any questions?
You're not going to make your question about the H1N1?
That's just information. I'll get around to that one in a minute. I was going to congratulate them for limiting our exposure, so to speak, to only $31,000 on that viewed. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the procurement items. All in favor? Any opposed? Procurements are carried. Mr. President, do you have any other words for us?
No, except the next topic would be Vice President
Oh, right.
of Health and Safety.
Good
Health
afternoon.
and safety.
Beginning on page 57 is the 2010 quarterly safety statistics for the first quarter. You can see two charts and one graph covering the customer vehicle accidents with injury statistics recorded by month and by facility. We have the increase there is attributable to the situation at Throgs Neck Bridge with the reconstruction of that southbound ramp. That's been alleviated since the traffic pattern was changed, with a merge further back toward the toll plaza, and those numbers went down then following that move. Now on page 60, we have the employee lost time accident statistics, two charts and three graphs. Those stats are recorded by work group and facility and type of incident. We had an increased rate of IODs in the first quarter. We reviewed these incidents and not detected any specific pattern or specific causes, but many were slip, trips, and falls. Almost all of the incidents were related to normal routine activities in and around the service building, around the plazas. So we're continuing to scrutinize your reports and stepped up our safety visits to all the facilities. We also plan to be visiting, myself and VP of Operations, to further reinforce all of our safety procedures with our workforce. And that concludes my report. If there are any questions.
It's a big change from 2 to 23, isn't it?
Yes.
Anybody have any questions? Anything else to come before the meeting, Mr. President?
We've ended our report to the committee.
Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for appearing.
Thank you.